So, you want to hear another story, huh? Well, if not, too bad, I'm telling you anyway. I want to tell you about the 2017 Washington Wizards. But to do that, I have to talk to you about the 2016 team first. Now, the Wizards, they were always very intriguing to me because their backcourt was one of the better ones in the league. They had the point guard John Wall, super athletic, at times looking nearly inhuman, and he was one of the best playmakers in the league as well. And on the other side was Bradley Beal, a sharpshooter who may not have been as athletic as Wall, but I mean, he could definitely zip down the floor as well. And together, these two, you just knew that this was a championship backcourt. They had what it took. The rest of the roster was just, I mean, it wasn't completely awful. Jared Dudley was a solid defender and shooter. Marcin Gortat, an average NBA center. But then there was the likes of Nene, okay, I guess. And then they had some rookies or second-year players like Otto Porter who really hadn't found his niche in the league yet. And the Wizards in 2016, they were up and down. I mean, they could handle their business against mid-tier teams, but whenever they went up against some top competition, especially in the Eastern Conference, like the Cavaliers, they just couldn't beat them. They didn't have a chance. And the Wizards that year, they went all the way to, well, they didn't go anywhere. They went to the first round and they lost to the Atlanta Hawks. Like I said, they just couldn't beat one of the better teams in the East. And the Wizards, they were in an odd position. It was John Wall, Bradley Beal, the rest of the roster just really wasn't up to par. And so their mentality going into the offseason was just, okay, let's just try to improve as much as we can. We got some expirings. Nene is going to be gone. The majority of our second unit is going to be gone. But then something interesting happened. Now, it was always a little internet rumor that Kevin Durant, the superstar of the Oklahoma City Thunder, would contemplate entering free agency and potentially even joining his hometown Washington Wizards. Whoa. Well, nobody thought that was actually going to happen, right? Until it actually did. Kevin Durant, KD, the best scorer in the league, some say the best player in the league, chose to join up with John Wall and Bradley Beal and the Washington Wizards. And now suddenly, this looked like the best trio in the league, at least among the top trios in the NBA. Now the Wizards, because they had a crap ton of cap space, they made a point to improve the roster overall. They went from Nene at power forward to Terrence Jones, someone who could defend as well as stretch the floor and just give them more versatility. The second unit, they needed some more pop. They signed J.R. Smith to provide them with scoring. Sean Livingston, as the backup point guard, gave them a more solid foundation when John Wall was not in the game. Otto Porter finally learned how to shoot three-pointers. And suddenly the Washington Wizards just became a more well-rounded roster. Amir Johnson and Ian Mahinmi, probably one of the better reserve front courts in the league. And let me tell you, that 2017 season with John Wall, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and these guys, they ran through the league. I mean, what were you going to do? Kevin Durant by himself was impossible to defend. Then you throw in John Wall's ability to pass the ball off to anyone, score inside, create offense, Beal's shooting. They were flying down the court, alley-oops, everything. Whatever they wanted to do, they could do. And their dominance of the regular season was cemented when Kevin Durant was given the MVP award. They were by far and away the best team all season. Durant, the best player on the best team, the catalyst for the Wizards' jump. He deserved the MVP. And so they got to the first round of the playoffs facing the Toronto Raptors of all teams. And no one gave the Raptors a chance. I mean, the one-seeded Washington Wizards, they just did what they wanted against the Raptors. It was nothing. The second round, they went up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was an interesting matchup. We saw Kevin Durant go up against LeBron James once again, but the Wizards, too athletic for the Cavaliers to handle, especially when Kevin Durant would go to the small ball four. Cleveland really didn't have an answer because Kevin Love just wasn't quick enough to defend him, and they didn't have any other options. did away with the Cavaliers in 6, and then in the conference finals, they went up against the very surprising Orlando Magic, who were a few years ahead of schedule, partially because for some reason Dirk Nowitzki chose to leave the Dallas Mavericks and sign with these guys of all teams. But the Wizards, they were too much. Just too good. Simply too good is the best way to put it. But the Magic did give them a fight. So then in the NBA Finals, they got the Los Angeles Clippers. And this was a different Clippers team, to say the least. And there was some key matchups in this one, including Chris Paul and John Wall. I mean, you talk about probably at that time, potentially the two best point guards in the league going up against each other. It was great. And the Clippers, they established in Game 1, they were not going to be intimidated. They were not going to be scared of the Wizards whatsoever. They were an equal team. The Clippers went through the Western Conference, which is just a much more difficult task than what the Wizards did. They were fighters. They were scrappy. This was a different Clippers team compared to ones of the past that would blow playoff leads. These guys were ready. They wanted to win this championship. And it was a back and forth battle, let me tell you. At one point you think the Wizards have the advantage because on paper they seemed like the better team. Nope, LA comes right back at them. But in the end, when you have Kevin Durant, you have Kevin Durant. And he was the difference in the Washington Wizards defeating the LA Clippers in 7 grueling games. And the Washington Wizards had won their first championship in a really long time. That's all I can tell you.